Hi, everybody. This is Joe Maldonado and Nanu Pagan, and this is Coffee and Tea offered by Griffin's Class School of Practical Magic. And today we're going to talk about how you jumpstart your intuition and how do you use the clairs. And everybody that's on the call, if I can ask you to turn off your video and your microphone, otherwise you will be recorded on the call. But that's okay. You can certainly do that. So, Nanu, what is the pathway of the
Yes,
seer?
ma'am.
Let's talk about that.
That's a good question, because there's a lot of paths to the same place.
Yeah.
And honestly, I've been amazed by the way that you've developed this idea of the clairs and how you've divided them. And I've really been, I mean, I'm not all that great in all of them. I have my strengths and I have my weaknesses like everybody else.
Yeah.
But like the way that you've developed this idea to be able to be presented. So you tell me, what is the path of the seer?
So, it's really odd because, you know, the seer has all these gifts or skills, if you will. And for years and years, and I've been researching this a lot since I'm teaching the path of the seer in a
Yeah,
week or so. And there's all these different kind of gifts that the seer was pronounced in having. But when I thought about it, I thought, well, seer is like a psychic. Well, okay, so I'm psychic, you're psychic. Everybody on the call is psychic. They have premonitions. I have premonitions all the time. So do you. So do so many other people. And then I kept dipping into it further. So not all of us have the ability to see the past. Maybe remote view the present to another location that you're not there, or see visions or premonitions into the future. Not all of us can do that very clearly, but we all have it.
right.
And I think that's why, to me, this class was so important, because it shows and it helps people get those strengths a little bit stronger. So if you don't have, and you won't have it, like you said, I don't have all of them. I don't have all these abilities, but if you work on it, it's like a muscle. You're working a specific muscle of your head. If you work on it, if you work on being able to see past things, if I hold up, this pen, you know, and if I put myself into the pen, one of the things that seers can do, um, they get impressions. Where was the pen? Where did it go before it came here? It's like, it's psychometry. Where did the pen come from? Who touched it before I touched it? Well, this pen was packaged, so I know it came from a factory or a place that produces these pens. So I may get a very faint, which I do, a very faint impression of the persons that were involved in packing this particular
Putting
pen.
it together, yeah.
Yeah, and so this is a gargoyle pen. So they're very unique, but they belong in my home. It's great. So I think there's so many attributes of being a seer that we all have, and I wanted to develop a course of study that will allow people to kind of dip into the little things, that they have maybe a part of, or they think they do, but they need a little bit more development. Like, for example, another example is seers. Okay, they can see the dead, they can talk to the dead, you know. Well, how many times have you talked to your grandma or your mom, right?
Yeah.
And how many times do you get that impression from her that she's with you, right?
Yeah, that sense of presence.
Yeah, a presence, right? I mean, and we all do, even for those that have no belief or no experience in this. We all go through this. Think back as far back as you want to, back to when you were 4 or 5 or 3 or 20. 30, 40 and 50 would have been really good, and 60. But think back to moments. Right? Don't you? I mean, oh man, I wish I was 60. But think back to moments when you had this feeling that someone was in the room, and you felt them or you smelled their perfume, so this is like where the clairs come in, I'm just gonna pop up this little tiny list.
One of the things that I found really interesting is that it's like you said, there's a lot of different paths. And while you may not call yourself a seer, you still have these abilities.
Yeah.
But you've also divided it into certain clairs that you
Yes.
call, right?
Yes. Right.
I think that you've got 5 of them that you're going to be working on.
Yes.
What are they?
So the clairs, I'm gonna just real quickly share the clairs. So the first clair is, everybody's really familiar with this one. That's the clairvoyance. We're gonna go into that
Yeah,
a
the
lot.
psychics, like on TV, right?
It's like, well, for me, the way clairvoyant is, it's seeing, voyeur seeing. That's where
Yeah.
that comes from. It's you see, I see in my head. People go, where do you see this? Sometimes I see them real, very rarely, but I usually see them in my head, and it's kind of like this impression over here. With, it's like almost like ghostly figures. I see them faintly, so I'll get that information, whether it's a picture or it's a symbol or it's a word or a color or whatever it is. I'll get that, in my head. I'll get a quick snapshot of it. So that's the clairvoyance. Okay. So then the next one is clairaudient, which is audio, hearing, like audio speakers,
Okay.
you hear stuff. So now, once in a while, this has happened and it freaked the crap out of me. is, I'd hear somebody as though they were right next to me, like saying something. I don't, does that ever happen?
I've had that experience, and it's very, very unsettling. It sounds like somebody's actually talking in your ear.
Yes, exactly. Like
Yeah.
they're like this picture, like they're actually, saying something to you. And clairaudient, the way I get it all the time, if I'm tuning into something, is it's a word, like, or a message that comes through in my head. And so, how do you know if it's you yourself talking, or it's the message? Well, we'll find
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
I'll go into that very clearly.
Yeah.
It's like I had years ago, I had this message. Oops, wait, I'm going to stop sharing that. Of, excuse me, of somebody or something in my head saying that, you know, don't don't put on your bedroom slippers. And I put them on. And I put them on anyway. Excuse me, I'm going to have some of my tea. Feel free to say a word or two. Or not.
I'm sorry you're having such a tough time.
I know.
Maybe, do you have like, yeah, well, your, your throat chakra, you're holding back. Go ahead, spill the beans, girl.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. So, and the story, and I'm beginning the story again, and it's affecting my throat chakra again. But I ended up,
Wow.
I didn't listen to what the message was telling me. The message in my head was, don't wear the slippers. I wore them. I tripped on a step, broke my hip, and I was on crutches, walkers, all kinds of stuff for 12 to 13 weeks because I didn't
Oh
hear
my
what was
goodness.
in my head, and so, yes, see, now my throat is clear. That was still, and apparently is still, a traumatic experience for me because I wasn't listening to my intuition, to my Clair, which is the Clair audience. So Clair audience, I think, is really important. And yes, we're going to go through so many exercises and so many ways of differentiating. What is something that you actually make up in your head? Is it imaginary, or is it like a message? Don't wear your
Yeah,
slipper.
that's a really big point you're bringing up. We've got to learn how to differentiate these things because, we're human and our egos get in the way and we
Exactly.
want to do and offer. So I really look forward to that.
Yeah, yeah. Good. Good. So I'll be seeing you there.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's really important. The other Claire is clairsentient, which is feelings, emotions. Like people talk about the gut feeling. So I mean, how many of us are there that have walked into a room and you right away go, I'm not going in there. Or like there's
Yeah, I
people over
trust
there and
that.
you go, I'm staying away from that person over there. I'm not,
Yeah.
it's a vibration. It's an energetic level. We're all connected to it. So we're going to go into that, Claire, also. So, how do you justify that? Your feelings, your versus, what is actually, an intuitive message that you're getting. I think again, we all have this. So,
Yeah, that's the Claire that I'm a little bit more familiar with.
the
That
feelings,
gut feeling that it feels like a pull towards something or a repelling of something. You do feel that in your body though.
yeah,
And so that's how I kind of figure that that's the truth and not my head,
right,
you know?
right, right.
So would that translate to the other Claires?
It does. Well, I mean, it's the clairs. There's a whole bunch of clairs, but I'm just focusing on that. I'm also focusing on clair augustient and clair omniscient. So clair augustient is the tasting and smelling, and then clair omniscient is like you just know stuff. So tasting and smelling would be if, say, your mom wore a specific kind of perfume like my mom did, and then all of a sudden I walk into the room and I smell her perfume, or my father smoked cherry tobacco and I
So that
walk
would fall under the
under,
gustient,
yes,
the
the
Claire
Augustian,
gustient,
yes,
the
yes,
smell as well.
exactly.
Because I've had that experience where you smell somebody who's already passed.
Yes, yes. I think a lot of people do. They'll go, wait a minute, I smell, like I woke up one morning smelling sage. Like it was strong. It was like, I'm like, wait, it's just me, my husband, my mom. There's no sage around here. But I smelled it. So then you take it a little bit step further. I know some people are a little bit more familiar with dreams and meanings and stuff. We're not going to go into that much with this course because this course is just really identifying. Are you making this up or is it real? And if it's real, what does it mean? And then what? We're just going to work those muscles until, we all get comfortable with identifying what's real and what's not. And then if you want to, if you want to get stronger at being clairaudient, like hearing stuff, intuitive messages, so to speak, then we'll work on that. And that's why we have 4 classes in this course, because one is educational, and then the next one is a meetup, and we're gonna practice. Everybody's gonna get homework and assignments, and we're gonna really work it until you get
That's
comfortable.
really good. That's
Yeah,
really good because you know what? One of the biggest things about doing this kind of medicine or doing this kind of work, magic, whatever you want to call it, is actually the practice of it. I mean, you can read a book all day, but unless you put it into practice, it really doesn't get you anywhere.
exactly, exactly. Look at
So
that
that's
book
exciting.
that you just got that you're working with.
This is the bomb. This is so exciting.
The Lost
Okay,
Book of
I can't tell
Remedies.
you. I've already been made marks on this.
Isn't that cool when you get something and go,
It can't be sent back.
ooh.
Oh my God, I flipped out when I got it. I mean, that's been getting me through what I've been going through. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I ordered, it hasn't come in yet. Hoping today, just like Nanu does a lot of herbal preparations and she makes potions and, little, I don't have one here. Well, yes, I do. Little tiny things that she makes that I
Yeah.
have, and salves and balms and all kinds of stuff. So getting a book on the Lost Book of Remedies, which is all making things like that, brings up her joy level, escalates her, wipes out all the negative crap that's going on around her. For me, I'm getting a book on exercises on how to be a seer. So I'm like, yes, I found one of those.
Wow.
So we're gonna, I'm really excited.
Yeah.
So I already have my agenda planned out, my outlines for the course, but I'd like to hear, what other people are doing. What's really funny is when I was researching, information for this course about this one woman who is a very well-known seer. was talking about when she was little, she had all these gifts. She could talk to animals and she could touch objects and she knew what they were and she could see auras and she had dreams and, all these things. And seers don't have everything, they don't, because it's just, they're human. But she was saying she thought that she was very odd, that she was the outcast, that, that there was something wrong with her. And when she discussed this with her parents, they were saying, "Oh, you're making this up. It's all imagination. It's all imagination." And she talked to dead people, and she knew when someone was going to die. She knew when someone was going to get sick. She knew if they were going to get a job. And so finally, she just went heavy, heavy deep into this, into the seer attributes and studying it and looking at our past seers, who was famous, what did they do, how did they learn, and applying it to her own life. And that's kind of what I've been just researching because I never thought of myself as a seer. I think somebody said that to me last year. They said, "Oh, you're a seer. You see things." I'm like, "Well, yeah, I guess so, but aren't you?" Yeah, so aren't you
You
a
know
seer?
what? When it comes down to it, we get so focused on these labels, and the label, it's like saying the map is not the terrain.
Right,
The map is just a map. These are just labels and markers that we use to be able to communicate with language.
right.
But when it comes down to it, this energy is available to us all.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that that's the way the school presents all this energy.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm excited. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Feel free to type in. Otherwise, Nanu and I are just going to keep
I
working.
do have a question
Yeah.
because with
All right.
my
What's your
animals,
question?
with my animals, it's like I'm constantly having conversations with them.
Hmm.
And even with other family members, when they're talking, well, when they're interacting with the dogs,
Hmm.
I'll go ahead and I'll say what the dog's saying from the dog's point of view.
Hmm.
And, we treat it as a joke. But is that something that would fall under this
Uh,
stuff?
yep, absolutely. That is one of the seer gifts that you kind of intuitively, connection wise, know what your animal or another animal is thinking. I mean, I can tell you, what these guys are thinking when they do stuff. And we've been having a little bit of a challenge with our girl Enoch here. I mean, I had to sit down with her. And it was like, mind to mind, girl, what is going on with you? And then once I understood, I was very open what she was saying. I didn't agree, but I understood it, and I thought, okay, so now I'm going to step out of that conversation. I'm the human. I'm smarter than you. How can I outsmart you so you don't do this crap in my house and attack other animals? It's
Oh,
just
wow.
not cool.
Yeah, that's big. That's big because Enoch is not a small dog.
No, right, right, right. And so I think that's the whole thing with with these gifts that we have. And that's why I wanted to do this course, because we have to really understand them, but then not just understand them, not which ones are good, not which ones you're good at, but also how to use them. It's like, okay, so now I have this information. What do I do with it? I know someone is going to get very sick, by the end of the week. Hey, do I call them up and say, you better do all your food shopping, man, because you're going to drop over by Friday? I mean,
Oh my God, no.
oh, right, 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 right. But I'm saying it's just, yeah, there's a whole thing on ethics, which we have free in our YouTube channel.
Yes.
Like, what are your ethics here? But I think that's really important, that you have this information. What do you do with it? I know, for example, someone that all of a sudden realized that she was seeing spirits, in her bedroom. And she's like, "Oh, this is so cool. They could just come in. I could see them. I could talk to them." I'm like, "Dude, no,
No,
they
not
don't belong
really.
here."
Yeah.
It's like you don't want to invite all the spirits into your bedroom at night because it's not going to be pleasant for you.
Yeah.
It's not going to be fun.
I've heard some stories on that front where people
Oh
are
yeah,
not allowed to sleep. People can't sleep.
they
They
can't.
start feeling things and their house gets, I don't want to say haunted in a bad way, but it's like having visitors that never leave.
Right. Exactly. And that's what they don't understand. So again, that is using that gift in the right way. So, it's okay, so then you have someone that's dead that comes through and says, "Oh, Aunt Clara was really a horrible blah blah blah, and she used to go through my wallet. I'm sorry, Mom. She used to go through my wallet when I wasn't looking, and I'm blah blah. And then, okay, so you have this information about her. So what do you do with it? And the other thing people don't understand, that spirits take on, the personas of that which they were when they were alive. So, and all of the stuff, how did I learn this? I used to have a public relations firm for years and years, and one of my clients was the town of Casadega, which is a spiritualist community.
Yeah.
They have a 4+ year plan of it's a college for mediums, basically, for people who want to be mediums.
Oh, I did not know that bit. That's
Yeah, yeah,
interesting.
yeah. It's like a real college. I mean, they have to do so many pro bono things. They have to do so many studies in this area. They have to practice, and so on and so on. So, all of this, just came about then. And I used to represent not just the town, but one of the mediums hired me to represent her, and do public relations work for her. So I went to a lot of her
Awesome.
classes, and she would just, those clairs, they were there to confuse me every single time. And I said, look,
No, that
I can't get this straight. I can't. She says, one day you're going to be teaching the clairs. And I'm like, no, I don't even remember what the first clair is and why is it called a clair. And she said, no, you're going to be teaching this. You're going to do a whole study about the clairs. And I'm like, God, I wish I could call her now and say, hey,
look at you now, girl.
yeah,
Look at
12
you
years
now.
later, I'm teaching a course on the Clair. So, I think, we just, it's perfect timing too, it has to be the right time for you to study, and and I know some of you are taking these classes, and there's so many classes, and you want to know, which one do I start with first? I'm overwhelmed. So this course in intuition
It's
building
a
with the
good one.
clairs, that's your foundation one. And then the other
Yeah.
one is that we did altered states. We did the one, I think, keys to pearls of our mind, and that was meditation, that was shamanism, and that was hypnosis. There was three different ways of getting into an altered state. And I think those are the two first classes if you're going to, and we have 56 classes now. So we have a lot of recorded and non-recorded classes that you can take. But, for those of you that are confused, they're the general basic classes to begin, your studies of intuitive building, magical arts, are those two. They're so important.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you talk about starting off with meditation and journey and hypnosis, because when it comes down to it, like you said, these are altered states. We have different labels for them, but
Mhm.
they really are essentially similar. You are not here anymore. You are in another level of experience.
Yeah.
So I like that. And I'll tell you something. I found the growth in the people that you've taught. I've seen how you've done in the league. You have this group where you find lost animals.
Mhm.
And I've seen the growth in some of the people that have been
Yes.
working with you,
It's
because
amazing,
you
isn't
see
it?
all the
Oh,
check-ins with what's going on like a year ago, and this time around when you see all their check-ins, it's like, wow, this person's got so much more detail. This person's
yes.
got, and you know that some of it are hits, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
So I've seen that. It's one of the reasons why I'm excited for your class.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Just for those that don't know, that are either listening to a recording or are on this particular live call, is that we have a group called the Gryphons Club, the League of the Extraordinarily Gifted. And those are people basically that say, hey, yeah, I know.
And it's a Facebook group.
Yeah, it's a Facebook group, but it's all
Yeah.
it's on Facebook. We have a private portal there, but it is a solid group actually. We have 29 members, And these are all people that, they just acknowledge that they have some form of intuition, and they want to either use what form they have to help and be of service to the community, or they want to learn more, so we help each other. We get together monthly on Zoom, and we have discussions, we have free events. It's like we kind of work together as a pack to help each other. We pray, we send good intentions, we do remote viewing, we do shamanism, we do a whole bunch of stuff. And that's just so that, we can all strengthen. But like Nanu was just saying about the lost animals, we have now formed a group specifically of league members that help look for lost people and animals, because we've done it so many times. We finally just, went and, and took a course in education on it, and we're getting better. And I see that too, Nanu, the growth in people that you mentioned. And
That's exciting. That really
it's so
is.
cool. The confidence level is up, and people are starting to recognize, what clairs kind of work for them, which
Yeah.
ones don't, and I think it's just so cool, and that's why we have the school. The school is there kind of to help everybody grow. And that's kind of all I need to say. But I just, yeah, I'm kind of shocked that I'm teaching the clairs. Does anybody else have any questions on the clairs? If not, we're gonna go. We're gonna stop the recording, and then we're gonna go, on mic and live video, so you guys can kind of, we can chat. Anybody? No, no, no. Going once. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to Nanu and I as we do another coffee and tea free segment. We'll see you soon. We have a couple more scheduled. Do go on our website, Gryphons Claws School of Magic.com. And there's Google Calendars up there so you can see when these events are taking place. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.